Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're looking at Volvo and Polestar. Volvo new flagship SUV is basically a family-friendly Polestar. That's what The Verge UK has to say. But let me just remind you, hit that subscribe button if you enjoy these videos. Now let's continue with our video. The EX90 ushers in a new era of Lidar-driven safety tech for Volvo. But if it's nearly the same as the Polestar 3 underneath, how can the brand stand out? That's a good question, because there's a lot of similarities with these cars underneath and within. Now the good thing is that on the exterior, they look completely different. That's what's brilliant about Volvo and Polestar. What they've done here is smart engineering. And it's not just Polestar. VW is doing the same thing with Porsche and Audi. They're sharing a lot of parts because they're owned by the same company. They're sharing a lot of design, a lot of engineering. It's just a way to save time and to save costs. Why design a new complete platform or a new complete chassis if it's completely unnecessary? That's what Volvo and Polestar is thinking. That's what VW is thinking. And a lot of other manufacturers who own more than one vehicle company, that's exactly how they think. To a certain extent, BMW and Rolls-Royce share technology. Because of course BMW, they own Rolls-Royce. But we'll probably get into that later if I have time. Let's just focus on this for now. Now that the covers have come off the Volvo's new 7-seat EX90 from the launch Hyperpole, it's clear that the company is pretty confident you'll have a hard time crashing the car. Safety has been Volvo's lifeblood since day one. They've always been known as the safest cars on the road. And they've always stood quite unique in this position, which has always been good for Volvo. But now, the EV market, it's all changing. There's Tesla, and they've become the safest cars on the road. So what's next for Volvo for Polestar? Can they retake that crown, especially with the new Polestar 3 and the Volvo EX90? Now Volvo, they invented the 3-point seat belt, and they made that pattern free for all to use. Instead of thinking about making a huge amount of money from that pattern, they just made it free for everyone to use. Good for Volvo. Not a lot of companies would have done the same. Not a lot. Very few, if any. So it's not surprising that the EX90 comes with plenty of cameras, sensors, and Lidar. These safety systems are there to help stop the car just in case it's about to crash. They're there for the safety of the passengers and for pedestrians and for the environment as well, quite literally. Now this, in fact, Volvo's new flagship vehicle. It's launching in 2024. Now this vehicle is here to set an example of the next era of Volvo vehicles. One that is full of EV and racing to create as little impact on the world around it as possible. In other words, they want to stay as sustainable as possible. And a quote, a statement from Henrik Green. And I quote, "This is our most recyclable vehicle so far. We have recycled around 15% of plastic, 15% of steel, 25% aluminum." Now, while you find Lidar tech on a couple of cars, that is true, the Polestar 3, Lotus Entry, and the Lotus Electra, where it's either optional or hidden away, here on the EX90 it comes as standard, and it sits pride of place at the top of the windscreen. And to be honest, at first, I never noticed it. And maybe that's how it will be. Maybe it will just blend in with the car. Hopefully, yes. Hopefully there won't be too much complaints. But you know how people are these days. They complain about the smallest thing. And it really is a small thing. Now, Lidar supplier Luminar CEO, that's Austin Russell, he had this to say, "It's not just about the sexy new features," end quote. "In the flesh, this Lidar lump is actually quite prominent on the EX90, and it makes it look a bit like a London taxi." That's what The Verge had to say. But then again, The Verge has seen this vehicle in person. I haven't. So once I do see this vehicle in person, I'll be able to give my own honest opinion. But I can definitely see a lot of people complaining, even though they don't want to. But then again, that's what the media does sometimes, just to sell. Now, the type of customers who might buy this Volvo EX90 flagship vehicle is probably one that car companies want to listen to, especially as the first available iteration of the EX90 will set you back a little over £96,000 in the UK in 2024. A cheaper single motor car with less power and more range will follow later, which will be priced around $80,000 in the United States and $75,000 in the UK. The launch model Twin Motor Ultra comes with 402 brake horsepower and 568 pound-feet of torque. That's a 5.9 second 0 to 60 miles per hour and 364 miles of range. So the next setup, the twin motor Performance Ultra, gets 510 brake horsepower, 671 pound-feet of torque, 4.9 seconds in 0 to 60 miles an hour, and 360 miles on a charge. That's really impressive. Both cars will have a limited top speed of just around 112 miles per hour. Now, perhaps one of the ways that these cars are most similar is the interior. And we've spoken about it before. I don't really want to get back into it because despite everything that I said, I do love the interior. On both vehicles, they are very similar. And I do wish if they were a little bit different in styling, but nevertheless, I love both design. It's really beautiful. It's pure Scandinavian design. Now, The Wired has to say that the EX90 does have a problem in this area. Not from a rival, but from the sibling on the parent company Geely, one that is coming after almost exactly the same customer. An affluent buyer who likes safety, Scando design, electric power, and super build quality. You see, the new Polestar 3. Launching way before the EX90, that's not true. It wasn't that big of a gap. The EX90 launched in November, and I do believe the Polestar 3 launched in October. There's not a big difference. I think there was probably a month's difference. Now, both vehicles do share the same EV platform, yes, but the Polestar 3 starts at $83,900. That's £79,900. Yeah, it is not a cheap vehicle in any way. It did surprise a lot of people in many ways. And even the base version, the single motor version of the EX90, that will start around £75,000. So the price differences, they were a big talking point. That's to say the least. Throw Polestar at $89,000. Now, if you want to get a more impressive version of the Polestar 3, it will cost you around £85,000, and you'll get the long-range dual motor with performance pack. This does bump the power to up to 510 brake horsepower, 0 to 60, 4.7 seconds. But try to understand, there's not a big difference with the first version of the Polestar 3. It still comes with long-range dual motor, and it hits 0 to 60 in about 5 seconds. And on a single range of charge, that's around 379 miles on a single range of charge. That is quite impressive. Performance pack, that's the difference when it comes to mileage. The performance pack is 347 miles on a single charge. That's the major difference in my opinion. But ultimately, 0 to 60, there's barely any difference. So it's an interesting way how Volvo has set up both cars with the similarities internally and externally, of course. On the surface, it doesn't look similar. Underneath, it is similar. But to sum it up, essentially what Wired is trying to say is that is the Polestar 3 too much of a good competition for the Volvo EX90? This is supposed to be Volvo's flagship vehicle, and it will be. I think both vehicles will sell quite well. And to be honest, if they are competition towards each other, isn't that a good thing for Volvo? If you don't buy the Volvo, you'll buy the Polestar. If you don't buy the Polestar, you'll buy the Volvo. That's good for Volvo because Volvo owns Polestar. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.